Let me share my screen again. Okay. And can everybody see my screen again? All right. So who we are. All right, main initiatives. Main initiatives, this is our official organization mission statement. So this is the official one, and then I'll give you the sort of the unofficial one. So main initiatives is a fund for change, cultivating social and economic and environmental justice through grants and other support to grassroots organizations in Maine communities. That's how we were started. With that sort of broad mission of supporting social change. You'll see we made a shift to focus on racial justice. We currently do that through a number of programs. So Grants for Change was the initial program at Maine Initiatives. Since we have added immigrant-led organization fund. So that was the second fund that we developed, recognizing that the immigrant and refugee experience is particular, has particular needs, and we felt like we needed to support that community specifically. Since those Grants for Change and immigrant-led organization fund, we've added a Maine Share program, which is a workplace giving program. This fall, or last fall, but made the grants this spring to our latest fund, the Outdoor Equity Fund. So this is a collaboration with the Nature-Based Education Consortium. So this spring, we gave grants to 10 outdoor equity, nature-based learning organizations, BIPOC-led through, again, our participatory grant-making process. So really excited about that. And then this January, we're going to be launching a giving project, which is a donor organizing model. So that's part of this national network that Hawaii People's Fund is connected to, but peer organizations across the country use this model. We've been invited into it. So we're really excited about that as well. And we've timed it up too, so you can participate in Grants for Change. And then if you are thirsty and want more and want to engage deeper, that you can join the Giving Project in January. So what we do, right? So I gave sort of our mission statement, but what does that look like? So at Maine Initiatives, beginning in 2015, we made a organizational commitment to focus on racial justice. And we do this at the intersection of community organizing, philanthropy, and justice work. So the way that we like to think about it is that we identify, mobilize, leverage resources. So we raise the resources. That can be financial, but it's also in terms of people, organizing people around this work, fund and strengthen organizations. So really at the heart, right, we're trying to support the work that's happening on the ground, to put those resources in the hands of those on the front lines doing that work, right? To move, like Grace was saying, like channel those resources to where they need to be. And then, yeah, build an ecosystem of change, right? And this is what you are potentially a part of. I mean, you are, it sounds like from what you're doing, but we want to strengthen an ecosystem of change, which includes those organizations. It also includes people that are volunteering their time. It includes donors, funders, networks of people. So we want to facilitate and add to that, to building an ecosystem of change. So the how and the why, participatory grant making. So we use what we call a radically participatory place-based model of philanthropy. We started this again in 2015. Before it was kind of a thing. Now it's more of a thing. You hear more about it. But I've met a lot of people that tell me like, yeah, you guys in Maine were doing that before it was a big thing, which is kind of cool to like come into. But this is a model that I get a lot of inquiries from around the country to learn sort of how we're doing this in Maine. And this is a process that we've evolved since 2015 with a lot of community feedback. So it's a really exciting model. And participatory grant making in general is a lot. It can be a lot of different things, but essentially what it is at its core, it's an approach to funding that seeds decision-making power about grants to the very communities that are impacted through funding decisions. So our past and current, or past grantees, current applicants are also participating as proposal readers. We welcome that and encourage that. The grant making committee is made up of current applicants as well. And we feel like we all on some level are impacted. So we want everybody in the room, but in terms of the center of the program, being our community advisory board, for example, 10-person community advisory board, those are all made up of community leaders, past grantees that are central to the work. So they've worked with us on the program design. The grant making advisory committee will be made up primarily of BIPOC people. My goal this year is to have it 2/3 BIPOC. And the majority of those people are people that are impacted directly from the funding. And then the others in the room, we feel like it's important to build that ecosystem. So that happens at that retreat. And this is something that Liz touched upon, which I'm very grateful for, which is about philanthropy. We acknowledge the long history of extraction that philanthropy is just totally intertwined with. So we're working in that space to try to shift that. But we recognize that that is fraught, and that our process is evolving. We are learning. You know, we mess up every year, and we lean into that, hopefully. So we welcome feedback, and it can get messy, and we welcome being in that space together. So just, yeah, a note on philanthropy and harm. It's important to acknowledge that this is the world, you know, the sector that we are participating in this process, and we try to keep that at the forefront. All right, Grants for Change program. So give you a brief overview of the program, talk a little bit about how to apply to be a proposal reader, and then open it up for questions here. So again, I might not read all of these, and we'll share these slides with you afterwards, but I want to try to just give you either the, you know, sort of the high points here that I feel like are really important for you to know. So the Grants for Change program, participatory program, strengthens BIPOC organizations through funding and relationship building opportunities. So we're trying to intervene on legacies of white supremacy, settler colonialism, racialized capitalism. We center Indigenous sovereignty, okay, and Black liberation. That's sort of at the core. If I could condense it, you know, into sort of how we move and how I think about this program, for me is Black liberation and joy, and Indigenous sovereignty, and the work that's happening in solidarity with that. Okay, because we feel like on some level that's at the core of racial injustice in this country. So we need to be attentive to that. It's not at the exclusion of others, of other lenses, but that's sort of how we orient Grants for Change. Since 2016, we've committed about $2.3 million through this program. This is Maine Initiatives is not a big family foundation. We essentially raise, pool, grant out all of the money, like all of the resources for our programs each year. So we don't have a huge endowment sitting somewhere. We raise the money and grant it out. So we've done that for Grants for Change program, $2.3 million. to 56 organizations since 2016. Currently, we're in this phase where last year we made a 3-year commitment to Grants for Change, to supporting organizations, BIPOC-led organizations, $1.5 million over a 3-year period. So we're in the 2nd year of that. Our grants are multi-year, and again, this is our way of also intervening on traditional philanthropic practices. Okay, so in our grants are multi-year in Grants for Change. So those organizations who received grants last year, they don't have to apply for the next 2 years. Okay, there's consistency there for them. So $45,000 total, $15,000 a year over three years. We have no reporting requirements. We just try to be in good relationship with the organizations that we support. We try to show up for their work, to lift up their work. We use this process as a way of lifting up their work too. Organizations not selected this year in the cohort of 12 that we'll be selecting, they'll have between 15 and 20 readers, proposal readers, that'll get to learn about their work through the process, which is also a way of lifting up their work, even if they're not selected. So over the 3-year period, 36 organizations we hope to support through this. Let's see. This is our 2022 cohort. You may recognize some of these organizations. We're just so honored to be supporting these organizations over a 3-year period. And a lot of these organizations are really leading in terms of racial justice work across the state. Okay, I see it's 12:44. I'm going to go quickly through these next couple of slides. I invite you to take a look at them when we share them. Again, we feel like we believe it's important to really name what, how our work moves, what we hold in terms of our values, and also sort of our analysis, right? So we seek to really name and respond to the history of chattel slavery in this country, as well as settler colonialism. So again, I told you sort of how we orient our work. What we do, and this is sort of together, okay? What we do together. I think the thing that I would want to lift up here is that we see racial justice work too as encompassing healing work, right? It's not just organizing that you may see visible at the State House. And we also want to create a cohort of organizations that are organizing together. So not all of the organizations funded through Grants for Change will be Black or Wabanaki led, but we encourage all BIPOC led organizations that are working for racial justice in solidarity with Black and Wabanaki communities to apply. These are some of the criteria that we put out to organizations who apply for Grants for Change grants or funding. Just Maine-based organizations are primarily working in Maine. What else? With a budget limit of $1.5 million. So we see ourselves also having a role to support newer organizations emerging. Before bigger funders, they're visible oftentimes. We like to build those relationships to help them get going. All right, how we do it together. So just a little bit about the process. So again, the design of the program is greatly informed by a community advisory board that worked with over the last 2 years and continue to inform what this looks like this year. The request for proposals for organizations is already out there. So if you know organizations that are BIPOC led, that are doing racial justice work, please tell them about this program. So that deadline is August 31st. For proposal readers, the deadline is September 10th. So you definitely have time to apply and to encourage others to. The grant making advisory committee will be selected from the proposal readers. Again, 30 to 40 people, majority BIPOC. That grant making retreat is in November. And then we'll announce first week in December, the grants. And I just like this slide because it does this moving thing and then it pops all in there. But it's essentially what I just said. Because I'm not that like PowerPoint savvy, but somebody created this slide before I got around and I was like, that's really cool. I need to put it in there. But it's essentially what I just said about the process. Okay, the application. Okay, this is where you come in. You may have seen, and I know some of you have, because a few of you have already signed up to be proposal readers, which I'm thrilled about. But we've got a proposal reader invitation. Okay, so this gives some information about being a proposal reader. You can find this on our website. Take a look at that. I would say it's a great place to start. Has some of the information we've talked about here. You'll find at the top there the link to the application. We try to keep the application very simple. Shouldn't take more than 10 or 15 minutes. If you sign in, it's a Google form. So if you sign in with like a Google-based email, you can leave and come back to it and it should save. Sections really are just general contact information, why you're interested. So you've already done some thinking about that here. Any relevant experience that you may have connected to this in general. And part of the reason we're asking that too, in terms of building our grant making committee. And then a question about if you want to serve on the grant making committee. And yeah, maybe Bree, if you're willing to put in the chat, if you haven't already, the link to the application. There is a section there about permissions too, if you're willing to have some of your responses shared, like I just shared with you some of the reasons why past readers are participating. We'd like to get your permission to share with community, because as you saw, people write amazing things. So there's a section on permissions. There's a section on taking action, other ways that you can also get involved if you're interested. And also, I just at the bottom, just to share this opportunity with people. We're encouraging people to sign up with friends, with partners, with learning communities, with colleagues, because we feel like that is a way too of facilitating learning and creating that ecosystem as well. And then, yeah, I mentioned the grant making advisory committee. This is included in that invitation to proposal readers of sort of what the kinds of, what we're looking for on that grant making committee, the kinds of the makeup of that grant making committee. And then finally, just wanted to give a bit about, as a proposal reader, we will have if you sign up, we will have an orientation for all the proposal readers on how to go about reading and reviewing the proposals. But just wanted to give you a sense of just how we try to keep it really simple. We try to keep the application for organizations minimally burdensome. Again, a way of intervening on philanthropy where you can spend hours and hours working on grants that takes you away from the work. So we both keep the grants pretty simple and the evaluation pretty simple. I should note, as a reader, basically what we'll do is we'll take all of these evaluations. So there's both quantitative, but also sections for your comments. We'll accumulate it, or we'll take all of this, aggregate it, and share this with the grant making committee. And that'll inform, because they'll have to read as a group and learn about, say, like 50 proposals. So the work of proposal readers are hugely helpful to that process. Okay, I true to form, went over the time that I thought I would for sharing this. I could have talked so much longer about it anyway. So next steps. Application deadline is September 10th. Read the invitation, read through the application, the instructions at the top. Attend an information session, which you're doing that now. I think we'll hold another one later in the month too, towards the end of August, if you have friends or people that you think would benefit from this. Complete and submit the application. Make sure you hit submit on the last page of the Google form. And then this year, for the first time, at least since I've been involved with Grants for Change, I mean, certainly since COVID, or when we're in the thick of it, we're having an in-person gathering of proposal readers. It'll be on Wednesday, September 13th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. in Portland at Apres. I don't know if you've been there before, but they've got big area. It's like right next to Indigo Arts Alliance, if you're familiar with Indigo Arts Alliance. And it'll be just fun and connective for proposal readers to get together. All right. That's it. Any questions? We have a little bit of time, definitely can stay over if questions go longer than 1 p.m. And if you have to jump off at 1 p.m. and you have a question, want to defer to you to ask that first. And again, apologies for going a little bit over the time that I had wanted to. Any questions? Yeah, Stephen.
Julian, how many proposals do each reader read?
Oh, great question. Bree, we have to note to include that. Each proposal reader will read 3 proposals. 3 proposals. It roughly takes, I would say, maybe an hour to read a proposal. Again, we try to keep the application short, but to really read, digest, and do the evaluation, I would say it takes about an hour each. Some go a little bit or less. There may be some that might take you a little bit longer, but the ask is to read 3.
And I think you said earlier that between 15 and 20 readers will read each proposal.
Yeah. So exactly, 15 to 20. Last year, each proposal got on average 15 reads from the proposal readers. And then the grant making committee also read, I think there was another couple of reads from the grant making committee. So between 15 and 20 total.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question.
Bree and Julian, approximately how many proposals do you tend to get for this?
Yeah, last year we received 54 applications for 12 spots in the cohort. However, that over 3 years, that's 36 organizations that we can fund. There were probably, I would say, maybe 15 to 20 of those that weren't a total great fit for this program, which happens. And I think once you do have a year, some people will say, oh yeah, this program's not really for me. And then other groups will say, yeah, this is a program for me. So yeah, we had 54. And then of those, right, the 12 that got selected last year don't have to apply again. So it's a better chance too for other organizations to get selected this year, or groups that were applied last year but didn't get selected. Yeah, good question. Also, just a note on that too, we think about conflict of interest a little bit different. And if you are a reader, we'll do an orientation and talk about this in more depth, but we welcome people that are connected to organizations that are applying to be readers. We won't have them read the application, obviously. So we do have a whole conflict of interest form, that kind of thing, but we encourage people with proximity to work of the work and applicants also say they learn about more about proposal reading too from reading some of the stronger proposals, newer groups. So it's beneficial to them in that regard too. Any other?
One last quick question. So, so if you have a reader reading and giving their comments, is there ever a time where the readers of the same proposals get together to talk about it, or no?
That happens at the grant making committee, certainly. I mean, it's a big part of the grant making committee. It's something that I'm interested in. For example, if people apply with a group of friends and want to sort of do that informally, I can certainly help facilitate those discussions. It's not something that we've done in the past, but it's something that, yeah, I was thinking would be a good idea. So if people sign up with friends, I would want to know too, and maybe we can set that up. I wanted to mention too, sort of lastly on that in terms of the commitment. So Stephen, thanks for your question around the 3 proposals. We will be sending proposals to readers probably around September 13th, 14th, and you'll have about a month to read them and on your own time. So just to really give people enough time to do that. Yeah, Grace.
This is like sort of a small question, but will you be emailing proposals, or do you send paper copies, or both? Or I'm thinking about access, and then I'm like, oh, I love reading things on paper. So
Totally. We will be emailing PDFs of the proposals for folks for whom that is doesn't work for them. We can certainly mail, and because of the time that we have to, we can send those out. But yeah, we'd be happy to mail proposals if you don't have access to a printer or just aren't don't work with PDFs and also have received as well evaluations not from the Google form that comes with the evaluation too. People have either sometimes type those up separately or just send us an email. We accept that as well. But I certainly, I always print out too. I work better with, like, if I'm going to read a proposal, to sort of print it out. Any other? Looks like we're just a minute over. Any other questions that we could answer for you today? If you do have any other questions, feel free to email us. Yeah, Bree, would you be willing to put our Grants for Change email in the, yeah, it's grants, the number 4 change @maininitiatives.org. If you have questions that come up. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully we covered all the bases here, and that you're interested in participating as proposal readers. And yeah, just so grateful that you took the time today to learn about this participatory grant making program. Yeah. Great.
thanks for offering the space to engage about it in this way. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Grace. Yeah, thanks for coming. And yeah, reach out if you have questions. Thanks, Liz. Good to see you. Todd, great to meet you. Thanks for coming. Jan, you as well. Yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks, Stephen. Great to meet you. Yeah.
Thank you, Julia.
Yeah.